From the outside, it looks like you have it all. You have the degree hanging on the wall and the job title in your email signature. Your apartment is tastefully decorated, and your social calendar seems full. You're more connected than ever through a dozen apps, yet you feel more alone than ever. So why, in the quiet moments when the scrolling stops and the day ends, do you feel so profoundly empty? It's a hollow feeling, a quiet ache that whispers, "Is this really it?" You might feel guilty for feeling this way, as if you're being ungrateful for the life you've built. I want to tell you right now that if you've ever felt this way, you are not alone. More importantly, you are not broken. This feeling isn't a personal flaw, it's a symptom of the world we live in. This experience is becoming incredibly common for modern women navigating today's complex pressures. In this video, we're not just going to talk about the feeling. We are going to give it a name and a structure. We'll explore the 4 deep psychological voids of modern life that are engineered to create this exact feeling of emptiness. Stay with me because understanding this is the first step to feeling whole again. Now, before we dive in, it's important to say that the experience of being a modern woman isn't monolithic. Your personal journey, your culture, and your circumstances shape your reality in unique ways. However, psychologists and sociologists are observing a distinct and powerful pattern emerging across Western societies. It's a pattern of disconnect, a growing gap between what our lives look like and what they feel like. To make sense of this, we're going to use a powerful framework called the 4 modern voids. Think of these as 4 fundamental human needs that have become dangerously depleted in our current world. First, we'll explore the void of authenticity, which is created by the pressure to perform your life online. Second, we'll discuss the void of community, examining why hyper-individualism is making us so lonely. Third, we will tackle the void of rest, deconstructing the burnout caused by the myth of having it all. And finally, we'll look at the void of meaning caused by the collapse of traditional life paths. Our journey today will take us from this confusing feeling of emptiness to a place of profound clarity. And stick around until the end, because after we understand the why, we're going to shift gears completely. We'll cover concrete, practical steps you can take to start filling these voids. This video is designed to be the roadmap you've been searching for. Let's begin with the void that greets us every time we unlock our phones. The first major source of this modern emptiness is what I call the void of authenticity. The void of authenticity is the gap between the life you perform and the life you actually live. It's the space between your curated Instagram feed and your messy, complicated reality. In our digital world, we've all become performers, and our social media profiles are our stage. We post the promotion, the engagement, the beautiful sunset from our vacation. But we don't post the anxiety that came with the promotion or the fight we had right before the proposal. Consider Sarah, who just returned from a 2-week trip to Bali that she'd been planning for years. Her feed is a perfect collage of turquoise waters, smiling selfies, and captions about finding herself. Her friends and followers comment with envy, saying, "You're living the dream." The reality was that she felt lonely. The food made her sick, and she spent most evenings anxious about the work piling up back home. When she posts that smiling photo, she isn't just sharing a moment. She's managing the perception of her life, both for others and for herself. But here's the psychological twist. Living with this constant gap between your performance self and your private self creates a state of cognitive dissonance. It's a mental friction, a deep-seated discomfort that comes from holding 2 conflicting realities at once. Your brain knows your life isn't the highlight reel you present, and this inconsistency is emotionally exhausting. This exhaustion doesn't feel like normal tiredness. It feels like emptiness. Simultaneously, we are trapped in a culture of constant comparison. We are constantly measuring our behind-the-scenes footage against everyone else's highlight reels. This is a game that is mathematically impossible to win. Research suggests that this constant social comparison is directly linked to lower self-worth and increased depression. Your sense of value becomes tied to external validation, like likes and comments. When your self-worth is outsourced, you are left with an internal void. The more you perform a life, the less you feel like you are actually living one. This leads us directly to our second problem, because this performance culture isn't just isolating us from ourselves, it's isolating us from each other. This brings us to the second force draining modern women, the void of community. The void of community is the profound loneliness that stems from living in a culture of hyper-individualism. For generations, human beings have been wired for the village. We lived in dense intergenerational communities where support was woven into the fabric of daily life. Your neighbors knew you, you shared childcare, and you borrowed cups of sugar. Today, we celebrate independence and self-reliance, which are empowering traits. Many of us have moved to big cities for our dream jobs, chasing opportunities our grandmothers never had. But the shadow side of this hyper-individualism is a deep and pervasive loneliness. We live in atomized apartments in cities of millions, feeling completely anonymous. We've traded the village for a digital neighborhood that offers the illusion of connection without the substance. Think about the stark difference between having 500 Instagram followers and having 3 people you can call in a real crisis. The first number might stroke your ego, but the second one is what actually saves you. This isn't just a feeling, it has a name: social malnutrition. You can be surrounded by people all day at work or online and still be starving for genuine, meaningful human contact. The consequence is that the entire emotional weight of life falls on your shoulders alone. Or worse, it falls entirely on one person, like a romantic partner, which places an impossible strain on that relationship. Without a community to co-regulate our nervous systems and share our burdens, we are left in a chronic state of low-grade stress. This constant, unshared stress doesn't just make us anxious, it hollows us out. It leaves us feeling drained, isolated, and empty. If finding a community of people who are also trying to understand themselves better is something you're looking for, consider subscribing. We talk about topics like this every week, and we'd love for you to be part of the conversation. So we've seen how external pressures from social media and a lack of real community create these first 2 voids. But what about the pressures that come from within, the expectations we place on ourselves? That brings us to our third and perhaps most exhausting void. Let's talk about the void of rest. The void of rest is the emotional numbness that comes from the relentless pressure to do everything, be everything, and optimize everything. We were sold the empowering myth of the girl boss, the woman who shatters the glass ceiling while holding a green juice and a yoga mat. The reality of having it all turned out to be doing it all. Our mothers fought for the right to have it all. Our generation is fighting for the right to not have to do it all. As a modern woman, you're often expected to work what amounts to 3 full-time jobs. There's your actual career, where you're supposed to be ambitious and constantly climbing the ladder. Then there's the second shift, a term for the unpaid domestic and emotional labor that still disproportionately falls on women. This is the mental load: planning meals, scheduling appointments, remembering birthdays, managing household conflicts. It's the invisible, never-ending to-do list that runs in the background of your mind. But it doesn't stop there. Now we have a third shift, the relentless pressure of self-optimization. You must also have a perfect skincare routine, go to the gym, meditate, read books, and maintain a vibrant social life. Even our rest has become another thing to perform and perfect. Your brain is constantly juggling 1,000 decisions, from a major work project to which brand of oat milk is the most ethical. The psychological and physiological toll of this is immense. It leads to adrenal fatigue, chronic stress, and a state of profound burnout. And here is the crucial connection. Severe burnout often doesn't present as frantic stress. It presents as emotional numbness. You're so depleted that your system shuts down feeling altogether as a protective mechanism. That numbness, that lack of feeling, both good and bad, is the very definition of emptiness. You are not sad. You are just nothing. You have been running on empty for so long that the engine has just quietly shut off. Let me say this very clearly. You do not have to optimize every second of your existence. Your worth is not measured by your productivity. This brings us to the next and perhaps most hidden void. This is the existential root of our modern emptiness, the void of meaning. The void of meaning is the quiet existential panic that comes from having to invent your life's purpose from scratch. For most of human history, life scripts were largely pre-written. The paths to a meaningful life for women were narrow and often restrictive, but they were clear. Purpose was often found in well-defined roles within the family and community. The feminist movement rightly shattered these limitations, opening up a world of choice. You can be a CEO, an artist, a mother, a world traveler, or all of the above. But here lies the paradox of freedom. Unlimited choice can be psychologically paralyzing. When the old scripts for meaning collapsed, we didn't adequately replace them with new ones. Instead, for many, one single source of meaning has been elevated above all others, which is career ambition. Your purpose becomes your profession. But what happens when your career is your sole source of identity and you get laid off? What happens when you achieve that major career goal you've been chasing for a decade and you feel nothing but a brief moment of relief followed by what's next? This is a form of arrival fallacy, the mistaken belief that reaching a certain destination will bring you lasting happiness. When your entire sense of meaning is pinned to a single fragile pillar like a job, your entire psychological structure is unstable. This creates a deep existential anxiety. It's the feeling of being adrift in a sea of infinite possibilities with no map and no compass. That feeling of being fundamentally untethered is the void of meaning. Okay, so that's the why. Let's shift gears and talk about the what now. Understanding is the first step, but action is what creates real change. Here are 4 small, manageable actions you can take to start filling these voids, one for each area we discussed. First, to combat the void of authenticity, try a small reality post challenge. Share something small and imperfect, a messy desk, a failed baking project, or a feeling of being tired. This isn't about oversharing, it's about gently closing the gap between your performance self and your real self. Second, to fill the void of community, embrace the third place concept. A third place is a location that is not your home or your work, where community can organically grow. This could be a book club, a pottery class, a weekly park run, or a volunteer group. The key is consistent, low-pressure interaction with the same people over time. Third, to address the void of rest, schedule doing nothing time in your calendar. Treat it like a non-negotiable doctor's appointment. This isn't time for productive rest, like listening to a podcast. It's time to stare out the window or lie on the floor. This actively teaches your brain that your value is not tied to your output. Finally, to begin exploring the void of meaning, try a simple journaling exercise. Draw 2 columns on a piece of paper. In one column, list your achievement goals, like getting a promotion or running a marathon. In the other, list your value-based goals, which are the feelings you want to experience, like creativity, connection, or peace. Notice the gap and start brainstorming small ways to live your values today, not just chase achievements tomorrow. Before we wrap up, I want you to take a breath. None of this is your fault. You are a human being navigating a world that was not designed for your well-being, but for your productivity. Today, we've untangled this feeling of emptiness by looking at the 4 voids. The void of authenticity from performing our lives, the void of community from our modern isolation, the void of rest from relentless burnout, and the void of meaning from a lack of clear purpose. So, how do we tie all of this together? This feeling of emptiness isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a signal from your psyche that you're disconnected from these core human needs. Emptiness isn't a void to be feared. It's a compass asking for a new direction. It's your deepest self begging you to seek more authenticity, more community, more rest, and more meaning. The path forward is not about adding more to your plate or achieving another goal. It's about gently and with great self-compassion beginning to reconnect. So if you feel like you have everything but are still empty, know that you're not missing a thing. You're missing a connection to yourself, to others, and to your values. And the good news is that's something you can rebuild one small step at a time. I would genuinely love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments which of these 4 voids resonated most with you. Reading your experiences helps us all feel a little less alone, and your story truly matters. And if you're struggling specifically with the pressure of productivity we talked about, check out our video on the psychology of burnout right here. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Be kind to yourself.